Modifying your vehicle is a pretty satisfying feeling. You're just giving it a bit more of a personal touch to make it truly unique. A lot of cars nowadays on the inside and the outside look very samey. There's not a lot of variance there. So doing something that can make it stand out from the crowd, well, if you can do that, all power to you. But there are some modifications that could potentially land you in hot water, and this one in particular could end with your registration being revoked. What am I referring to here? Let's dive in and have a look. Automakers have always been aiming for reduced emissions when it comes to vehicles. Ever since the oil crisis back in the 1970s, gasoline or petrol, whatever you want to call it, has been going up in price quite a lot, and a lot of us are a lot more environmentally conscious now than what we were back in the day. And indeed, that has led governments to implement emission standards as well, and if your vehicle falls foul of it, you could be in trouble. Not only could you be forced out of a certain area, like a certain city, but you'll probably end up having to pay more, not only at the pump, but also in tax as well. When it comes to reduced emissions, there's loads of different ways that automakers go about this. Making smaller engines, having hybrid engines, forced induction, particulate filters, direct injection, and of course electric vehicles which have no tailpipe emissions whatsoever. And a lot of these systems are run by the vehicle's actual internal computer, the ECU. And that's very much where the problems come in when it comes to these kinds of modifications, because I'm referring to making changes to some of those systems. Now, in theory, if you upgrade this, if you give it something that's even more environmentally efficient, something that in theory can really help out, then you think you're probably doing something good when it comes to this, right? Well, not really. Because at the end of the day, you can fit the most efficient equipment to your car, but if you put something on there that the computer is not programmed to be able to run, something that's an aftermarket or something that's a third-party part, then it could do more harm than good. And that very much did apply to Jarek Vetraders, who I hope I'm saying correctly. They are a TikToker who swapped computer modules out in his Ram truck after converting his automatic vehicle into a manual transmission. And what happened next was something that he was not expecting at all. But I'll let him explain that first.
That's my 24 valve Cummins, and I can't drive it because the state of Utah DMV has revoked my registration. Let me explain some more about it. So I'm sitting here in this Cummins, and this Cummins was an automatic that I had swapped to a manual. And when I had first swapped this from a manual, I did not swap my powertrain control module and engine control module at the same time. And when I went to do my emissions for the following year, I had failed. I had failed due to codes that are in an automatic transmission, like a powertrain or the solenoid, shift solenoid A, shift solenoid B. And I was like, oh, well, that's only showing up because I didn't swap my computers when I did my swap from an automatic to a manual. And some of you may remember seeing the videos when I did that. And so I went through the time and I got a different powertrain control or engine control module and powertrain control module. And I had went through the steps and process of swapping that to the proper one that's for the manual. So I then had no more diagnostic trouble codes, went and retested, did my emissions, passed, no problem.
So that's it then. Problem solved. Well, not really.
Well, 4 months later, I get a thing in the mail saying that my registration on this truck has been revoked due to emissions. And the reasoning for it is because the serial numbers for the engine computer module and the powertrain control module had swapped. And I kind of laughed to myself and I was like, well, yeah, of course it's swapped. I had to do that to pass the emissions because you failed me before when I had the automatic transmission with the different computer modules showing code. So I had to swap them in order to pass. So they tell me that it's illegal for owners to swap their own computer modules because it is considered an emissions compliant device. So I had not known that, but I was just trying to pass the emissions. So I was required to take an emissions test at the health department. And I went in there expecting to pass, and they failed me. They said, no, we see that you had swapped your computer modules, and in order for you to pass, you have to go to a dealership and have them reflash it to the latest firmware and pay them whatever fee they come up with, which I've researched. It's probably just under $1,000, which I can't afford right now.
Absolute nightmare, to say the very least. That is a lot of money for doing this car mod. So what has he been able to do to try and remedy it? Well, he came up with a few ideas, but unfortunately, that vehicle has just been sat on his drive now for months.
So literally, this truck has sat here in my driveway for over 3 months. I can't drive it. I can't do anything with it because I had revoked the registration. So then I thought to myself, well, I have some different property in a different county where emissions isn't even required. So why can't I register it under that address? So I went in and tried to do that. And they told me that, no, I can't do that. I still have to go in and test at the health department. And I don't think that's right.
So yeah, like he was alluding to there, according to the EPA, tampering, removing or rendering inoperative any emissions control device or element of design on a vehicle is prohibited by the Clean Air Act. So that means that doing any of the modifications that Yarrick made is not going to fly. But it's not just Utah, it's a similar story over the border in Colorado as well. And some states are even stricter than that. In Maryland, for example, tampering with a car's emissions components can land you with a civic liability and a fine of up to $25,000 per day per violation. But some states, such as Michigan, do not require cars to perform any emissions testing. And of course, interestingly, the manufacturers of the vehicles themselves, they're not going to face any kind of penalties when it comes to producing vehicles that produce too many emissions. There are no legal penalties for the companies for those now. So why do private citizens have to adhere to this as well? Well, it's all state and federal level law. And learning the differences between them really gives you an idea of what's going on here. But yeah, I have to admit, I feel sorry for this guy, really. He's done all in modifications to that truck to try and make it more efficient, to try and make it faster, whatever he was trying to do, right? And he ends up having his registration revoked for his vehicle as a result. And it doesn't seem like there's an easy way out of this. Even if he gets that test and gets it remapped by the manufacturers, there's no guarantee that it will pass. So yeah, crazy case, guys, but let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Should he have done his research more before taking out these modifications? Or is he very much an innocent victim in between a lot of different red tape? I want to hear what you have to say on this as always, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. As always, if you want to see more of this, guys, have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world today, and we'll see you very soon.